stand by.
3, 2, 1.
The following program comes from executive producer Lilian Garcia. Every athlete is on this quest. Every performer dives in head first, battling real-life challenges and overcoming obstacles in an effort to make their dreams reality. Singer, songwriter, 15-year WWE host Lilian Garcia was the first woman to ever announce WrestleMania. And the first to launch her own podcast, which gives you an all-access pass to the human interest stories of elite athletes and extraordinary entertainers. Now, let's embark on another fascinating journey of chasing glory with your host, Lilian Garcia.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Chasing Glory. Yeah, you know, I like to sing a little bit here and there. So, and I kind of dig that vibe. So I'm just going to go with it. Having an awesome day. I hope you guys are having an awesome day. I hope you are having an awesome week. Let's go for it. And hope that some amazing things have happened in your life. Welcome to the chase for glory. That's what we're all doing, right? In one form or another. And I love all the feedback that I've been getting on Dolph Ziggler, my guest from last week. Thank you, Dolph, for doing that interview. You know, most of you actually were commenting how he rarely does interviews, and he gave me an interview which was so awesome and insightful and full of lessons. And I'm just really, really glad that you guys liked it. I loved hanging out with him. I think he's just an incredible human being, just a really nice guy, and also just what an athlete. And man, again, I said it last week, but I've been watching more matches with him and Seth, and then Drew McIntyre as well. And yes, we do have Drew McIntyre today as our guest here on Chasing Glory. Guys, this is just, it's fun. This is just fun. Getting to see what they're doing right now, how hot they are. Monday Night Raw, they're closing the shows, they're main eventing, and the work that they're doing. Drew was phenomenal against Seth Rollins on Raw. And now, of course, I had to record this, though, before Extreme Rules. So I haven't seen Extreme Rules. But, of course, this is playing on Monday after Extreme Rules. I know. Keep up with me. It's kind of confusing. But anyway, what I'm saying is I'm sure Extreme Rules was really cool, and I can't wait to talk about that next week. But those are my two guests from last week as far as Dolph and then Drew McIntyre. And we'll see what the future holds as the future guests arrive on the show. I want to thank you guys for following me at Lilian Garcia on Instagram and Twitter, Lilian Garcia official fan page. And now Chasing Glory has its own Instagram page. If you guys haven't heard about it, all you have to do is start following Chasing Glory Podcast on Instagram. That's Chasing Glory Podcast on Instagram. And what's so cool there is we have a lot of things that get posted up there that don't get posted anywhere else. It is all about Chasing Glory, and especially Glory Fridays. Glory Fridays will tell you who my next guest will be. So those of you that followed on Instagram knew this past Friday that Drew McIntyre was going to be my guest today. So it's kind of cool. You guys get to know it before the world gets to know it. So how's that? And I'm going to be giving away Chasing Glory t-shirts and photos and who knows what else. So just make sure that you follow that page, as you guys are my CG squad. That's right, CG squad. I love that name. I think I'm going to have to get a shirt with that. Why not? Anyway, just really want to thank you again for being with me. And I want to let you guys know, too, that iHeartRadio just picked us up. So I'm very excited that now you can find Chasing Glory on iHeartRadio and all the other places that I have listed. They are all on my website, LilianGarcia.com. Also, the Chasing Glory app on Android is up and running, and Apple is still letting me know that it's coming. All right. I'm being very patient with them, but that is definitely going to be happening so that you can get Chasing Glory very fast. Or you can also go on Spreaker.com or Stitcher or Spotify, Apple Podcast, of course. And speaking of Apple Podcast, I want to do this right now because I think it's very important. Something that really touched my heart were these comments that were left, and especially one of them. And usually I do this at the end of the show, but there's a reason I'm doing this now, and just bear with me, guys. It's pretty emotional. Okay, so the first one that I just want to thank so much you guys writing your reviews, subscribing to the show, giving the show a continued 5 stars. This is incredible. And that definitely helps us in ratings and gets more awareness to the show. And yeah, we can keep this thing going. So the first one says, I simply love this podcast, from Christina8909. Dear Lilian, I can't begin to describe how much it means to me to have your podcast. I'm a huge wrestling fan, and to get to know my favorite wrestlers outside the ring, it's a huge thing for me. Thank you so much for this podcast, and much love from San Diego, California. Well, hi, Christina. Thank you so much for writing in. I appreciate it more than you know. All right. The second one, best guest and different. Okay. I've been a fan of your show since the start, but what made me leave a review was that you were able to get Dolph Ziggler on the show. He barely does interviews, and I was glad to see a different side of him, but that's something you commonly do anyway. I try to pull it out of him. Been following you since the beginning and look forward to continuing to follow through to the next level, or whatever he's next saying. Anyway, thank you so much. That is Measle22. So yeah, keep following me. I appreciate that. Now, this is the one that I picked to get the Chasing Glory t-shirt and also the 8x10. And I just want to thank this guy for being so vulnerable. Talk about being open. Well, we talk about that here, right? Real, raw, but inspiring. So he says, it's titled Hard Times. He says, I'm an up and coming actor, and despite getting the biggest break yet, which I can't share till it airs, I'm at the lowest point of my life personally. Used to be an indie wrestler, but injuries caught up and ended my dreams. So I moved to LA and took up acting. After recently losing my mother, dealing with a breakup, losing everything, and being homeless, I've had suicidal thoughts recently because of it. But this show has kept me going in high spirits, and my goal of working directly with The Rock as a co-star. Keep doing what you're doing. It's helped me fight. Wow. That comes from Robert Hawk. Robert, I'm telling you, I can't thank you enough for being this open and sharing that. When you share that and you put it out, there's something very powerful that happens. And I hope that you will feel this right now. I'm telling you, I know things can get really sad and very heavy. When I lost my father, it's going to be, this December will be 2 years. So a year and a half ago, it was really tough. So in that same year, lost my dad. WWE was gone, had to leave, and didn't know what I was going to do next. And even since then, there's been one thing after another. I talked about like 2 months ago how I wasn't even living in our home because they found mold in our home. So we've been put in a different location and much smaller. None of our things are here with us. We're living day by day, basically living out of a suitcase. I've been living out of a suitcase for 2 months and just trying to make the best of it. But one thing I know is, man, you get pushed to the edge, but when you hold on, you will see how strong you really are and what you can conquer. And then you look back and there were so many lessons along the way and so many silver linings. So Robert, just keep your eyes out on the silver lining. And you know what? One day you may co-star with The Rock. Or one day he may co-star for you. How's that? I love my buddy, The Rock. But yeah, you never know in this life. Just keep going. Keep your spirits up. Just know people are out there. We're all going to cheer you on. All right. The CG squad is behind you, Robert. So no more suicidal thoughts. But thank you for sharing that. And just know that things will get better. Go back and listen to Paige's episode. You'll see. Go back to listen to a lot of these episodes where people were at the rock bottom and came back. So much success to you. Thank you for writing in. And guys, make sure you can, continue to write in, and I will pick another winner next week. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and kick it off to Drew. How about that? All right. So again, thank you for joining me. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Drew McIntyre's journey of chasing glory. Born Andrew Galloway, Drew McIntyre began making a name for himself as a teenager in the Scotland wrestling scene. Although he grew up loving soccer, he knew there was only one place to be, and that was the WWE. Knowing he had to hone and polish his skills, he started locally wrestling for British Championship Wrestling out of Glasgow, Scotland. At 6 feet 5 inches tall, McIntyre easily made a name and a presence known, and within a few years became one of the hottest prospects in all of Great Britain alongside future WWE superstars Sheamus and Wade Barrett. After dominating the European wrestling scene and a successful WWE tryout, McIntyre reported to the WWE Developmental Territory, Ohio Valley Wrestling in 2007. After a brief stint on Monday Night Raw and conquering WWE's newest developmental territory at the time, Florida Championship Wrestling, McIntyre would make his SmackDown debut and within weeks would be christened the Chosen One by Vince McMahon himself. At the inaugural Tables, Ladders, and Chairs pay-per-view in 2009, Drew McIntyre won his first WWE title when he defeated John Morrison for the Intercontinental Championship, where he held the prestigious title for 161 days. He would find tag team success at Night of Champions in 2010, where he and Cody Rhodes became the WWE Tag Team Champions after winning them in a tag team turmoil match. After going back and forth between Raw and SmackDown brands, he would find his entertaining side when he was partnered up with Heath Slater and Jinder Mahal to form 3MB. Unfortunately, in 2014, Drew McIntyre was released from the WWE contract, and although initially he felt depressed and unsure of his future, he saw it as a blessing and decided to make it his mission to get back to the WWE. He immediately made an impact on the independent scene, going back to rising Scottish promotion Insane Championship Wrestling, as well as making his Evolve debut by defeating Chris Hero for the Evolve Championship. He would master his craft by wrestling for top independent promotions all over the world, wrestling against some of the best independent wrestlers at the time. In early 2015, he would make his Impact Wrestling debut, where he would battle against the likes of Matt Hardy and EC3, and after 1 year of making his debut, he would become the first ever Scottish-born TNA World Heavyweight Champion. And after 3 extremely successful years of traveling all over the world, Drew McIntyre would re-sign with the WWE and join the NXT brand better than ever. At NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, McIntyre would defeat Bobby Roode to become the NXT champion, where he would go on to hold it for 91 days. During the 2018 Superstar Shakeup, McIntyre would make his Monday Night Raw return, forming an allegiance with Dolph Ziggler, and has quickly put every Raw superstar on notice. This Ayr Scotland native is living proof that hard work will always pay off. It's about to get real, raw, and inspiring with Drew McIntyre. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here. I mean, what an amazing resume. And now I have Drew McIntyre in front of me. I'm so happy to have you here on Chasing Glory. First of all, welcome.
Oh, thank you for having me. Long time coming. We've been talking about it for a while, and finally we're here.
Yes, I know. We were. As a matter of fact, I remember when we were at NXT when I joined you guys overseas.
Yep, it was over a year ago now at the NXT UK tour, just before the Download Festival, I believe.
Yeah, and it was just so nice to actually get to spend some time there again, and because you and I worked together here on the main roster, and then we'll go into the whole story about you leaving.
It's crazy how quick those years go by.
Oh man, I was just so glad to see you back. But you know, now you hear your resume. What does that mean to you? All your accomplishments of what you've been able to get at you know, God, you entered so young, but yet you started like when you were 15.
Yeah, it's pretty great. I feel old for a start. I just turned 33 like a couple of weeks ago. Just to clarify, yeah, everybody thinks I'm like in my 40s because I've been around for so long. But yeah, it's pretty wild. You know, this was my dream. It was all I was ever going to do. I started at 15 and was very fortunate to get signed straight from university by WWE as the first ever Scotsman signed straight to America with WWE. So I got that opportunity very quick. And yeah, it's wild. It's been a wild ride. I've been very fortunate. And yeah, a lot of ups, a lot of downs, but it all led me to this moment.
Isn't it crazy? And I know that sometimes in the downs, and we'll talk about that, you think the world is just going to come crashing down on you. And you don't know when the next, you know, sometimes it feels so low, and then you're like, that's it, my life is done. Right? Did you feel that way, like, before we go back into, you know, your whole Chasing Glory story from the beginning, when you got released from the WWE, what did that feel like? Did you feel like,
it was a shock
what?
initially. You know, at the time I was doing the 3MB with Jinder and Heath.
Yeah.
And we were on literally every show, so it was very unexpected. Even though, like, I'd, you know, seen my, I believe, Twitter or whatever popping up that some people had been released or whatever, it still never crossed my mind that a missed call from WWE might have been to tell me that I was getting released. I assumed it was, hey, Drew, you're on the road a day earlier. You have to do, you know, this. And then when I got it, I was like, oh, okay. I'll be seeing you very soon. And I sat and I thought about it. And my girlfriend at the time is now my wife. And I had just moved into the apartment that I got the call in 3 days prior. It was our first place together. So I was thinking, how am I going to tell her? And now how am I going to tell my dad? It has always been my number one fan. You know, I had just been released from WWE after 8 years. And I know you'd be worried about the next step. And then I just eventually told myself, you know what, this is the opportunity you've been waiting for. You know, the position I was in, it'd be very hard to hotshot me into anything serious. I'd been there for so many years. It was the right time to be away from the company for a while. And I'd learned so much. I really believed in myself and knew, you know, this is all I know. I can really do something. And the wrestling scene outside of WWE is really picking up. I believe I can make a splash. Now it's time to prove it to the world. So I got a little excited after the initial shock passed.
Yeah. How long would you say, do you remember about how many days, or was it weeks or whatever, that you were a little numb to it, like going, oh my gosh?
Well, that day my phone exploded with a bunch of people, you know, trying to book me. And, you know, obviously checking how I was, but it was mostly, hey, man, you want to come do this wrestling show? And I was like, wow, what if I was actually, like, really upset here? And eventually I noticed that one particular company and one particular promoter hadn't contacted me. His name was Mark Dallas. He runs Insane Championship Wrestling in Scotland, ICW.
Yeah.
And I sent him a message, and I said, hey, you've not messaged me? And he was like, well, you know, you're my friend. Perhaps you were upset. And I was like, well, I've got an idea. I want to come back to ICW first. I have an idea for a mission statement. I want to get out there, and I want to do it in ICW, and I want ICW to be my platform. You know, we're on the rise right now. I can see you all really starting to, you know, get things going, and people are talking about ICW, and I want to be the guy to take it to the next level and take it worldwide. And he's a friend of mine. We've known each other since we were 14, and, you know, I went over there. It went very well on the first night, and we started killing it together. And now ICW is part of WWE. I'm back in WWE, and it's a wild world of wrestling we live in right now.
Isn't that crazy how the worlds collide? It's insane. Do you remember calling Jinder? I mean, I'm sure you guys talked.
Yes, we did speak that day. And yeah, I mean, I guess it was just both very surprised, and you know, I wasn't too sure what the next step was, but I knew right away. Like, I was just going to hit the ground running. I just, right away, like I said to myself, here's your mission statement. Get all in your head what you want to say. Go out to Scotland, go to ICW, and deliver, you know, this message to the world. And if you do it right, it's going to catch attention because of the world of social media now. This is your weapon. This is how you're going to take everybody on the ride. You're going to use that social media, which I learned from WWE. Yeah. I learned from Matt Hardy, who's a bit of an expert at it.
Right.
And yeah, I went over there, and you know, we hid in, like, myself and my brother, I remember, stayed with me, and we hid in my dad's house for 3 days with the blinds closed, just playing computer games like we used to play when we were kids, playing some Guitar Hero, and a couple of my buddies would come in and sneak me out to go to the gym. And we hid for 3 days, and then we snuck in the back door of the show, and the show was sold out with 1,500 people there. And at the very end, I snuck into the ring when the lights went out, pulled a hood off and revealed myself. Got a heck of a reaction, and just delivered that message to the world. It got out there, it started, you know, going viral.
Yeah.
And a few people really helped me by talking about it. One of them was Mick Foley, who went on Stone Cold Steve Austin's podcast and really took the time to, you know, tell everyone you really need to check out what Drew McIntyre's up to now. And that's what got the ball rolling.
I love Mick.
Nice, man.
Mick is just such a giving person.
Yeah, he's been always there for advice for me, and that really kick-started everything. Just, Him going on Austin's podcast and saying, you need to check out Drew McIntyre, like, or Drew Galloway. That guy's got something.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine. Like, I never knew the story that you hid for 3 days.
Yeah, just at my dad's house. I was gone for 8 years, so I never get any time home, like back in Scotland.
Yeah.
So it was nice to be home, and like I was happy just to be secluded away with the blinds closed, just in case anyone recognised me and gave it away. Because it'd only been 3 weeks I've been gone from WWE at this point.
Right.
That I was showing up at the show, and the BBC, the biggest film or TV company in
Yes.
the UK, they were filming a documentary in ICW starting that day, so they were waiting with the camera as I snuck in the back door, and they got it all in film. It was all part of a documentary, Insane Fight Club 2, if you want to check it out.
Wow, I love that.
They caught the moment, and when I took the hood back and I heard the reaction, I saw people like crying in the crowd. It was pretty cool. Like, as you say, like I was in shock and I was down and I was very motivated, but when I heard that reaction, I thought, wow, there's something special going on here, and like I genuinely believed I'm the guy to take it to the next level.
Yeah. And that's amazing that you could make that transformation in 3 weeks, because somebody could literally get that kind of news and then just hide away or drink for, you know what I mean? Like, just go off and just drink and be a victim and not. And I remember, I think Jinder Mahal was also on my podcast and he talked about it. It took a little bit for him to decide. Like,
I did. I remember a particular story. Like, I don't know if it will come up, so I'd rather just tell it now in case I forget.
Yeah, please.
I'd been doing, all my stuff. I'd really made a name for myself, and things were going, fantastic. And I met with, Jinder at McIntyres in Tampa, where we used to go for years with my wife, where I met my wife, actually. Yeah. She's embarrassed that I tell that story, so I want to make sure I tell the world now we met in McIntyres in Tampa. And we're with Jinder, and at the time he'd gone up to about 260, not necessarily a good 260.
Yeah.
And he was talking about giving up the wrestling and looking into like perhaps a franchise, like a Subway or something. He's very smart. He did real estate going. Mm-hmm. He was going to do well no matter what he did, but it was a bit depressing to hear he was going to give up on the wrestling because it's all he's ever done.
Right.
And after that, and I was like, damn, I wish I could get something going for him. And not long after that, I guess I didn't know this, he started, training, give himself a kick up the arse, and just started changing his life around, cut out the drinking, and really started bettering how he looked. And right after that, he got the call from WWE, because I remember he contacted me and told me, hey, I just got a call from WWE. There's roster splits happening. They basically need bodies.
Yeah.
And that's what he was just going back as a body.
Yeah. And
it suggested to me, like, if you're interested, maybe contact them. And I was fortunate enough, things were rolling well at the time. I was like, that's not something I'm interested in, but I'm very happy to hear you talking this way.
Yeah.
And then I watched him go back, and just as a body, just a regular, person on the roster to fill a spot, he saw that opportunity, and he knew this was like his second chance. He realized from his first opportunity, he let it, slip away, he wasted it. I did too. And he saw this as his opportunity. He started working as hard as he could in every area. He bettered himself, in the ring. He changed his body dramatically. He worked so hard to change how he looked, worked in his promos, worked in every area of his game, and he got rewarded with the biggest opportunity of all, becoming WWE champion. No matter what anyone says about the India thing or whatever, do you think for 1 second Vince McMahon would have looked at the way he looked when he first came in with the attitude he had in the previous run and gave him that opportunity?
Right.
He gave him that opportunity because he worked for that opportunity. He earned that opportunity. He deserved that opportunity. And I'm very proud of everything he's done.
That must have also made you so excited, because you had turned everything around for you and you were creating something, but then to see him do that too, I'm sure it lights a fire under you even more.
Oh, I was just over the moon. I was there the night he won. We did NXT Chicago the night before, and I was just getting rolling in NXT. I had a match prior to TakeOver. It's a lot of fun to wrestle in Chicago. I love that crowd.
Yes.
But we got to stay on to Backlash the next night, and I was sitting in the crowd, and I got to watch it live. And we were heading towards catering as the match was about to finish, and I was staying for the finish, and I didn't know what the finish was. I told Jinder and Randy, don't clue me in. I want to react how I react.
Yeah.
And I remember the three count happened. I struck an air guitar, which popped the boys, and then I sprinted like the Ultimate Warrior straight to Gorilla. So I wanted to be the first one to meet him when he got back there. And
I love that.
Yeah, it was a very cool moment, and just, as I say, I couldn't be more proud of him for everything he's achieved.
Yeah, it's so awesome. I've always wondered if you guys talk to Heath. Heath is still up here.
Oh, he's the man. Heath. That's all you can say about Heath. Heath is Heath. He knows his role. He's very good at. He's entertaining. He's funny. And Heath was 3MB. That's him
Yeah.
through and through. He's a great guy. He's entertaining. And what he's got, you can't necessarily teach.
Right.
Like he's got some special gifts that will allow him to work in WWE as long as he wants to work in WWE.
He's been here for so long. It's like he's always had a role, which is awesome.
That's the thing. You got the talent he's got. There'll always be something for you to do.
I definitely want to get him on Chasing Glory eventually because I definitely want to hear his side of it too, and seeing the two of you get to leaving and then coming back and all of that.
We used to rib him a little bit as well when Jinder had the WWE title and I was the NXT champion. We're like, come on, Heath, man, get in the gym and take down Brock.
And what does he say?
It's like, oh yeah, man, I'm working on it.
Everyone's got their path, right? Everyone's got their path.
I'm telling you, like he's got it figured out. Like he does, as I say, every time I see him, I was like, mate, you've got gifts that you cannot teach. Like you were 3MB, like I'm very serious. It wasn't necessarily, but allowed me to show a different side of my personality. And I think that was the idea that Mr. McMahon had was take the most random people you can think of and Jinder and myself as serious people and just give us the opportunity to bring out different sides of our personality. But nobody does it quite like Heath.
Now, speaking about paths, I definitely want to hear yours. I mean, you grew up in Scotland,
yes,
obviously. And tell me about that. What was life for you growing up? Do you have brothers and sisters?
I have a younger brother. He is 16 months younger. And he just had a baby a few weeks ago.
Wow, congrats.
Yeah, literally 2 days after my birthday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's
James.
Awesome. You were
Shout out to James. Yep, it's the first one, the first Galloway.
First Galloway. That's amazing.
So that's pretty cool. So I'm very happy about that. I can't wait to meet him.
Did you say he's older or younger?
He's younger, 16 months younger.
Okay, so you were the older one. So how was that for you being the older brother? Was that a lot of pressure for you, or?
No, I mean, I wasn't very nice to him when we were younger. We were like, he was my original wrestling training partner. Like, we used to wrestle each other, but I would always beat him up, make him cry. But we were kind of weird kids. It wasn't like we were just like fighting to fight, and just nonsensical, rolling around and, I don't know, punching each other or grabbing holds and getting separated. Like, we kind of worked together to put on the best match we could. We'd pick a character each, and then we'd try and do their moveset, and we'd try to have the best match possible before inevitably I made him cry. But
so it's kind of like a Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy.
Yeah. Like I was saying, we were just like bizarre kind of kids, and we'd see like other brothers fighting or other friends fighting. It was just like rolling around and just a load of nonsense. We were like, look at them. So they don't know what they're doing. And we'd work together to put on the best possible show when we were having a fight, and people would start circling around us, and like even at the park or whatever, and we'd get into like a wrestling style situation. So from a young age, we kind of didn't know how it worked, but we knew we wanted to, entertain, and we knew working together put on the best possible show and drew the most attention.
Did he ever pursue wrestling?
No, he had no interest in pursuing it. He would have been good at it as well.
Really?
He was very athletic. Like, he was like the Jeff Hardy, I guess, of the two of us.
Wow.
Yeah, I literally would do swanton bombs off the top of my nana's place. We used to wrestle around in the back garden and get the highest point possible and flip onto the mattress. And we had a little backyard company going there for a while. Again, like the Hardys. Like, I used to tell them when I worked, especially when I worked with them in TNA, and I'd get the opportunity to cut promos about it, that we were the Hardy Boys when we were younger.
That is so awesome. But he never wanted to pursue it, huh?
No interest in pursuing
what does
it. He is the manager of Frankie and Benny's in Ayr, a restaurant.
He wanted to stay in Scotland.
Yes, he wanted to stay in Scotland. Yeah, he was, born and bred in Scotland, no interest in leaving. Has a fantastic wife, now has the kid, and he's very happy in his life. The hardest worker I know. He just works like non-stop and just pushes himself.
And not every path is for, this is definitely...
No, I'm like a weirdo, I guess, for Scotland. I was the first ever guy to go to WWE. And
Really?
Like the first Scottish guy signed straight from Scotland.
Yeah. And
that was the goal all along. Like, I never wanted to necessarily leave Scotland. Like, I love Scotland. That's my home. But I knew if I was going to make it in wrestling, I had to get to America.
Yeah. So what was it about wrestling? When was it that you watched wrestling that you said, that's it, I want to do this? Do you remember?
As far back as I remember. It's all I wanted to do. Maybe at one point I wanted to play for my favourite soccer club, like Glasgow Rangers. But aside that, it was just wrestling. How am I going to do this? I need to figure out.
But did your parents have it on? Did your dad have it on? Is that?
Yeah, like, we had a couple of like British wrestling VHSs, and I didn't know the difference between like WWF and the British wrestling. So I just assumed everybody was part of WWF. I didn't realise I was older. There was different companies, and there was a British wrestling scene that had finished by that point, pretty much. But it was the old tapes my dad had. And he was explaining to me who they all were and giving me a bit of an education on the on the British wrestling. But yeah, I was just like obsessed. Anything I'd get my hands on, like if my friends had any tapes, I'd be around at their house watching them over and over. And it's just, I just had to figure out a way to do it. And when I was about 10, I sent to America for Inside Wrestling, The Secrets of Wrestling, Volume 1 and 2 that Percy Pringle and Dennis Brent wrote. And it kind of told you, how it works backstage and all the inside terms, etc. And it told me to keep kayfabe, keep the secrets. So I kept those two books, Volume 1 and 2, in a briefcase. And when I was at school and everyone was talking about the matches like they were obviously shoots like real, I would play along like, I was keeping kayfabe. So I wouldn't reveal any of the secrets. I knew what was going on. So I've been keeping kayfabe since I was about 10.
Wow.
I was a weird kid. I also used to write to like the FBI and stuff and get like documents from them. That kind of scared my dad.
Wait a minute, tell me about that. What did you do?
Like I remember I used to get like a subscription to this magazine, the X Factor, that kind of just had random stuff. Like it would talk about dangerous animals or ghost stories or conspiracy theories. Again, I was 10 and it gave a sample letter to write to the FBI if you want information under the Freedom of Information Act.
Really?
So I sent away to America.
Oh my God, I love it.
And I got about 3 documents and a big dossier. And my dad was waiting for me when I got home holding this, asking me, son, why are the FBI sending you things in the mail? And I went, because I asked for it, Dad. I was like, let me put this to you again. Why? The FBI in America sending you letters in the mail. I was like, again, Dad, I asked for it under the Freedom of Information Act. I was like, you're 10. What's wrong with you?
Wow.
So I was a bit of a strange kid.
That's impressive. No, that's impressive. That, to me, I mean, I know that you graduated in criminology.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I mean, you kind of tell already at 10 years old, you were kind of in that whole thing, right?
Yeah. That's, I guess I was into wrestling and into, strange things, I guess, for a kid that age.
Did that ever go anywhere? Like, do you remember ever asking for more stuff, or did your dad go?
Yeah, I was very interested in it. Like, the thing I realized is the more I looked into it, the more I got to know is, obviously there's stuff there, and you're only going to find out so much. You find out too much, they're probably going to off you anyway, so just live your life and enjoy it. So I realized that by the time I was about 12 and got on with the wrestling dream.
That's crazy. Oh my God. So much pressure though. Like when you're such a young kid.
No,
put it this way, you kind of grew up a little bit fast in that respect. But do you remember reading those documents?
Yeah.
Do you remember
I remember how many things
them?
were blacked out. But I remember. Like, understand. I was frustrated at how much was blacked out. But it didn't give any more than I knew already. So I was very disappointed.
Some people are climbing trees and making tree houses, and you're contacting the FBI and then United States.
And I was still out there wrestling and playing soccer, but I was also doing that behind closed doors. That was the kind of thing I didn't talk so much to my friends about. That was my private thing.
Oh, wow. So tell me your relationship with your dad. How was that?
Great. Fantastic relationship with my dad. He got married, when was it? Valentine's Day, February 14th.
Oh, yeah?
Just recently, yeah.
Oh, just recently?
Yeah, so that's the last time I was back in Scotland for his wedding there. So, he's doing good, he's happy, and he's very, very happy to be a grandfather.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So growing up, you guys had a close relationship?
Yeah, very close. I was very close with him and my mother growing up. Like, she was the head of the household. She was born with a bit of a rare condition called ataxia cerebellum that basically destroys the balance portion of your brain.
Oh, wow.
Like, it didn't kick in until she was in her early 20s, I guess the story goes. She was on the bus on the way to work, or the way back from work, sorry. And it just kicked in and the balance went and she had to literally crawl home and they couldn't figure out what it was. And my nana, who I was also very close with, was like a second mother, took her around all the doctors, trying to figure out what it was. And when they finally diagnosed it, it was in such infant stages at the time, they really didn't know what to do. And they found a doctor in London who was able to control it enough where she was basically able to walk with, if she was able to get a wall or whatever, she could balance herself and walk around.
Yeah.
And growing up, she was told also, I guess she would never have kids. I guess that's a big thing, that she was told she'd never have kids.
She was told she would never have kids?
Yeah. And then she got pregnant with myself, and even my nana, who I was very close with, was telling her, you can't have the kid, it's too much of a risk, and she refused, and she had me, then she had my brother inevitably.
Wow.
And we grew up, again with her, using everything to balance, etc. And she'd bring like her food through to the bedroom, like carrying it, and we would never help. If we had friends around, they'd run to help her and stuff, and we never did because we just knew it as normal. Like, it's just mum like doing what she does.
That's
and
true, because you grew up with it.
Yeah, and she'd go out the back door like to hang the washing out, the clothes on the washing line, and she'd just again balance down the wall, down the fence, along the washing line, and hang everything up and back in again, and just nothing slowed her down at all. Wow. And eventually broke her foot, was in a chair after this, and she would just wheel herself about in the chair, like with her feet, and do all the same tasks. And again, that was just normal to us growing up. And like everyone asks, when I have the crazy schedule, etc. And especially when I was gone from WWE, and I was the busiest wrestler in the world, and I was pushing myself like probably too hard at times. Ask, how do you do it? And I always say I had an unfair advantage because I had a superhero for a mom. Wow,
I was just gonna ask you, how did that affect you watching her? But I can see it affected you by working hard.
Yeah.
So what happened? Because I know she passed away at 51. Was that because of
cancer?
Cancer.
Yeah.
So on top of everything else, you got cancer.
Yeah. It's very unfortunate.
Did they ever figure out the balance thing? I mean, did she ever have some years where she didn't have to worry about that?
No, but again, it was so normal for us, and then normal for her, I guess. Like it never slowed her down whatsoever, and that's just. I guess something she would have had for the rest of her life. But she had the cancer. I can't remember exactly when it started. Like I know, obviously I was in WWE at the time. I think I just basically started on SmackDown when I found out. Initially started with a hysterectomy, I believe, and then it'd gone in theory. And then I was flying home one time, just by chance I was coming home, and my dad and brother were waiting for me at the airport and took me straight to the hospital, and it happened 3 days later, just out of the blue.
Wow, what kind of cancer?
Again, it started in the woman region and worked its way into the lymph nodes.
It's like
around there. Yeah,
so
I honestly, to this day, haven't asked too many of the details.
Got it, yeah.
But I understand as much as it worked its way into the lymph nodes, and at that point it was pretty much unstoppable. It was just such a whirlwind. I came home and just 3 days later it happened.
Well, I mean, I'm glad that you were able to be home to see her at least and get there.
Glad I was there.
And I empathize because I lost my dad to bladder cancer. So, I mean, cancer just sucks.
Yeah,
it sucks. It's
really
awful.
does.
And I know that my dad, I've definitely have felt him and felt it's crazy, like all the different signs that I get him, that he's around, that he is watching me, that he's protecting me, that he's helping me. Have you had that with your mom?
Yeah, 100%. And I think maybe for a long time, I didn't realize like how much it was affecting me, because it certainly did. That I kind of went off the rails for a very, very long time. And that's pretty much like what it comes down to. I never dealt with it. I don't know if I've ever really dealt with it, to be honest, or never really will deal with it. But
it's hard. It's really tough.
But that certainly sent me off the rails for a while. But eventually, I knew I had to get it together. I knew she'd be disappointed in the way I was acting, the way I was throwing away my opportunities and throwing away life, because life's too short. And she's an example. I know how short it really can be, but how much you can get in.
Did she? When she passed, was that when you were here the first time?
Yes.
Yes. So when you were drinking heavy and all of that, that was during that time too?
Yeah. Like pretty much. Like it was pretty much when I came to SmackDown. I remember for the first opportunity that I found out, and then
that's
it was
a lot, because you're
slope.
22 years old and you're losing your mom.
Yeah. It happened when I was 25, I believe.
Oh, okay. So
it was like a progression, like finding out and going away and then coming back, and I didn't realize like how much it was affecting me at the time. I was just completely off the rails. Like I look back now and I'm like, wow, you were out of control at times. And I realized, that had a lot to do with it, because she was the most important person in my life.
Yeah. Well, what have you been able to do to learn from that, though, from those moments?
I mean, that's certainly not the answer. One, it doesn't help you at all in your life, and whatever you're in. It doesn't need to be wrestling. Whatever you're doing, you're just going to hurt yourself. You're going to hurt people around you, and in the end, you're just going to, disappoint them. Like, would they really want to see you like that? Letting them and yourself down. And I wish I kind of thought that way at first. It was a lot being in another country and it all going on, and when she was getting the treatment, etc. And I could only see it through Skype, etc. So it was just very, very difficult.
Oh, that makes it really hard, Drew. I mean, I think anybody would have happened too. So that's it's understandable for sure. And nobody knows how to handle it. And I know that I left here and it was 2 years really of just trying to figure out what the heck to do in the next phase. So it's tough, and especially if you're close to them. And like you said, appreciate people that are here.
Yeah.
What has that done for your marriage? How did you meet her, you said? It was in the bar?
Oh, yeah. The Tampa bar that Seamus and I would frequent for many years. I think Seamus was still going there pretty much. And he moved to Nashville recently. So he was still going there every week pretty much till a few months ago. But McDinton's, it was the place, and FCW everyone used to go to. And we continued to go to every week. And then eventually I met her there about 5 years ago now. And
awesome.
We no longer go there. We don't go out so much anymore. We're a bit homebodies these days. Quite the opposite of what I used to be.
Yeah. How does she handle your schedule? Because, I mean, she knew what she was getting into from the very beginning.
Yeah. She knew. Like, it takes a
Did she know wrestling? Did she
No,
even
she
watch?
doesn't. It's great. No. Yeah, she's the opposite. We're the opposite in every possible way.
And that works for you?
Oh, yes, certainly does. Like, she use her head to make us money. I use my head to jump on. But yeah, like, we met and... right away there was something there. I actually convinced her to come on the road with me on like our second date or something. Like I don't know how I talked her into it. She's so sensible. And I managed to convince her to come on the road with me and, just check out wrestling and just show her kind of what it's
good.
What
She
it's
needed
like,
to
give her an
know.
introduction to everything. And yeah, from there it just kept, getting better and better. And I remember we moved into it. I didn't ask her technically. Seamus basically moved her in.
Seriously?
Like at the time, Seamus and I lived together, and then he got injured. He tore his labrum, I believe, and he had surgery, his shoulder. And when Seamus and I were living together, he just bought a house, and like we were there basically.
Oh, yeah.
I'd had her around the house all the time. When I was on the road, she would go out with him, and they would hang out. And she's a bit of a wingwoman, I guess. So they would have a great time, and then suddenly, she was there so much that he was basically suggesting the move, and I was like, all right, I guess that makes sense. And I was like, what do you think? And so he basically set it up for me. So
that's awesome.
I could always thank.
Because I remember him talking about that big house he had and
the
nobody
house
in there.
Yeah, it was like 30 minutes from Tampa. So like when she moved in, when he was back on the road, it was unfortunate because she was stuck in this big house by herself,
right.
30 minutes from anybody she knew
Uh-oh.
all the time. And but yeah, that was a great time. And the three of us lived together. It was like, I don't know, Three's Company, like a TV show or something. Some of the escapades that would go on in that place. And then eventually when it was time, we had to get her own place. And that was about the time, as I say, I got the release. As soon as we moved in,
right.
finally moved out, and he called me. He was like, "You want to move back in?"
Did you?
It's like, no, we didn't.
No.
I was very confident things were going to work out.
I know that you've said that from the first time to now, you've grown up a lot.
Yes.
What helped you grow up? Because people can say, hey, man up.
Yeah.
And even to females, when are you going to get it together? And it's easy to hear that, easy to say that, whatever. But then how did you do it? Like, did you have mentors? Did you...
Yeah, I mean,
what's that?
Just not having a choice, being in charge of yourself. I came from university and living with my parents to being in WWE. So I'd basically everyone telling me what to do and where to be at university, and living at home for everyone telling me what to do and where to be in WWE. So I went from one home in Scotland to another home in WWE. Then eventually, that was finally out on my own. I was like, oh, okay. There's
and now you have your girlfriend.
telling me, no one telling me what to do, responsibilities. These things that keep coming through the mail, I need to get paid somehow, and it's on me. And it was time finally, as you say, to man up. And it was a decision I made, not anyone telling me. It's like, okay, it's time to, put up or shut up. Like, you believe you can do this. It's like time to get it together. And just that experience of, being in charge of myself. And she was a huge part of it as well. Like, she stopped school for 2 years. Like, she's now in her last year to be a nurse practitioner. And she stopped school for 2 years, the first 2 years, to kind of be part of it and work at the same time, just in case. So she would handle like a lot of, my schedule and stuff, because it was so out of control. And she put up with a lot with me never being there. And I was just constantly gone and constantly trying to figure out, what's the next angle to get people talking about me. And she would help with ideas like that. And
Wow.
I learned how to be a businessman during that period, not just a boy that gets told what to do, is okay at wrestling in the ring. I figured out how to be a top guy, like how to get it done outside of the ring more. Like I could get it done inside the ring, that wasn't the issue. But I was able to get everything done outside the ring and, really grow up and really become, savvy at the wrestling business, if you like. And
what's some of the biggest things that you learned that you were like, man, I wish I would have known this the first time around?
I don't even know if it's hard to learn it within. Like NXT is, I guess, a bit different now that you do learn more of the, the things you need in those courses, etc. For the things you need, the media training, etc. That didn't necessarily exist when I started. And you get picked from developmental back then and dropped into the roster with a completely new character. Obviously NXT is like its own brand, and that's why I pushed heavily when I got there. I said, this is not developmental. I was part of developmental. I was in OVW for the last 6 months. I was part of FCW. That was developmental. So this is its own brand. This doesn't, deserve to be called a developmental. This has its own fan base, its own, the males and females in the roster are just unbelievable in the ring, and they're the reason everyone's talking about it. And the fans deserve their own picture on the roster page because they're such a part of the show.
Yeah.
And I always dreamed of a day, like I said, the first interview I pretty much did when I got there. I said, I've been a face of so many companies before, and now I came here because I want to help, get it to the next level. And I want to see a world where it's not moving up anymore, it's trades. Like eventually you're going to get traded to Raw or SmackDown, and maybe someone from Raw or SmackDown can get traded to NXT, and then they can start something new down there, and that's the world I dream in. And the way I see it is I got traded from NXT to Raw. I didn't move up. I got traded over.
That's a good idea to even some of the guys that maybe are stuck here, in Raw or SmackDown, that it'd be nice to get them traded to NXT to rebrand them.
Yeah,
right?
And I've heard Hunter talk about it as well. And the way I see it as well, like I keep saying, like I know there's a lot of things I've brought up in interviews that strike a chord with some people, and I understand. It's not easy sometimes, and I understand. You can be in the bubble so long. That also helped stepping away from the bubble. It gave me a perception. I got to live in reality.
Yeah.
I was living in a fantasy world for a while. But when you're in that bubble for so long, you do get a kind of warped sense of things. You forget you're in the WWE, the biggest company in the world, and you stop working as hard as you probably should.
Yeah, you get comfortable.
Yeah, and you got to start working in every area of your game because someone else is going to come along younger, hungrier, and better. And I keep putting a message out there as I'm sorry. I went away and I had to, learn the hard way and reignite that fire. And I'm back with the attitude on Raw of, this is the best show in the world. We've got, these TV deals for a reason, all this big money for a reason, the stock prices for a reason. We're the best show in the world. We have the best talent in the world. But we have a 3-hour show and there's a 2-hour show on SmackDown, and there's certain areas of the show and certain people on the show that don't necessarily have that fire in their eyes. And I call it my eye test, basically. When I see someone walk out or I even see someone backstage, I can look them in the eye.
Oh my God, isn't it so true?
I can tell if they want it or not. And I'm very sorry, you're in the WWE and I've been in the Indies. I know how big it is. And I know how many people want it. I've been the NXT champion.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys and girls down there ready to take some spots. And I'm back on Raw, basically, to make it all killer. And I'm sorry, if you're filler, it's time to go away and perhaps get an opportunity to do what I did, because there's a big scene out there to rebrand, reinvent yourself and find the passion for this business. Because if you don't have it and you can't find it, maybe you need to find something else.
Well, I always say, if you really aren't here, if you're not happy, then allow somebody who really wants to be here.
Yeah, that's one thing. I remember I said in one of the promos I did, people happy to collect paychecks. It's honestly, some people are miserable to collect paychecks.
You're right.
And I've been there and I get it and I see it, and you think, oh, woe is me. And if they just did this and this, it's like, well, you could do this and this, and I get it might not always happen, but you're not giving it your all.
Right.
And the boss sees that, and the people around you see that, and I get it now because I've been outside and I have that, perspective now. And sometimes it sounds harsh to people, and some people don't like to hear it. But I'm sorry, I came back here to be a leader, and I came back here to make sure Raw is the #1 show in the world, and I'm going to tell it how it is. 18 years of experience. I'm 33.
Yes.
I'm back to make a difference in the business, not just in my business.
But we need more leaders, and sometimes the leaders do get stomped on because they do say things that we don't want to hear sometimes, right?
Oh, yeah, and I'm not afraid of that. I'm just trying to do it for the betterment of the industry as far as I'm concerned.
I'm not asking you to name names at all, but are there any people that you've felt like you needed to go up to them and say, dude, seriously, you got to get your act together, or anything like that?
I have done as well.
You have?
I'm just back as well. I'm not going to start like overstep my boundaries, like
Or at least help.
But
They
yeah,
say,
the way I'm
look.
approaching it is like I'm there to help. I'm not there to like, my character might be shouting at you, but Drew Galloway will have a word with you and just try and put it in your head and try and steer you in the right direction. Then you've got to take that and do something with it. And if you don't, then
Have you seen it help some people?
A couple.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, like I'm back. I'm just kind of trying to get myself going, and I'm not like I said, one step at a time. Rome wasn't built in a day.
I get that.
Get myself like rolling in a good position, but at the same time, when I see if I can help, and if anyone's ever got questions, I'm there to answer them. But if I feel like somebody's there and like I'm like, okay, this is a good person. And there's not many bad people anymore. It doesn't really exist in wrestling anymore, which is great because there was when I first came over here. But that doesn't really exist anymore. And I know a lot of them get families, so I do want to try and help them and steer them in the right direction. And the key is, I guess, just finding that fire, and that's kind of how I put it to them. Is just you got to kick yourself up the arse, and I'll do it if you want, but you got to find that because it's noticeable. If you don't have that fire.
Yeah, it's funny because your story, you're actually one of the lucky ones because you've been on both sides.
Yeah.
So you know what it looks like to not have it, and then know what it looks like and what it brings to have the fire, to take care of yourself, to do the sacrifices that you're doing.
Well, if you know what it feels like to earn that opportunity to come back as well.
Like
I was given it at 21. Like I was very fortunate. Again, like a lot of people say, you're whatever 6'5" and look like how a WWE superstar should. Like I was like, that's how I got my opportunity in the beginning. That's how I was the chosen one, and then it all disappeared. And then I was 3MB guy, and then I went away, and then I worked harder than everybody. Then I earned that opportunity, and that's why I got the respect in the companies where a lot of the roster are smaller, high flyers, and I was the one big guy. It's because I worked my bollocks off and earned everything that's come my way. And when the time was right and I'd finished my commitments everywhere else and the companies I was working with were self-sufficient, they didn't need me anymore, that's when it was time to come back home to NXT.
You had a conversation with, you told me, with Triple H when he called you.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit on that conversation where you said, that's it, I'm coming? Like,
it really didn't take
say?
long. I was out of my contract with TNA. My wife and I were talking about the next step. There's a lot of great places out there, and I thought I kind of knew which direction I wanted to go. And then, William Regal has been a bit of a mentor to me, and always kind of kept an eye on everything I've been doing, giving me advice, suggested just make sure you have a conversation, with Triple H first. And I was like, oh, yeah, absolutely. And then I spoke to him on the phone, and just he sees everything. He knows what's going on. He knows what I've been doing, and he could see the difference in me, and was very, proud of what I'd achieved. And then we had just a really good talk, and we had a talk as just two grown men rather than, the boy that I used to be kind of nervous around, like himself and especially Vince, barely able to get my words out. We just had a good talk as two people who loved the business. And by the time of that conversation, it wasn't they needed to sell me. I just knew it was time to come home.
But is there something that he said that you were like, yeah, I'm going?
I can't really reveal the details of the conversation, but yeah, it was very nice to hear, and it just made me feel like, feeling fulfilled about everything that I achieved and the difference I'd made to the wrestling industry as a whole, especially the UK scene. There was, a part there that was, unfinished business, and it felt, good to hear some of the things I heard, and all I needed was the opportunity, and the opportunity was there, and it was the right time for both parties. And I'd been away, like I said earlier, I'd been there so long, you couldn't logically put me in anything, and to be honest, I just wouldn't have been able to, do what I can do now. I wasn't ready for those opportunities. If I got them before I got released, maybe I would have done fine, maybe I would have got a decent run. I just know now, everything I've been through, that I'm ready for everything.
Yeah.
I always wanted to be like one of the guys I used to be around in the locker room, like the Takers and the Edges, the Mysterios, the Christians, the Big Shows, you name it. Like I was around pretty much everyone growing up, and I always wanted to be like one of them. Like they'd been through like a different time and learned from all these, phenomenal legends of the business. And I've been around them, and I always wanted to be at that level where you can throw anything at me and I can do it, not just because I came through the system here and I get hit with something I'm not ready for. I was like, no, I've been through everything. I've been in the smallest places, I've been in the biggest places, I've been in everything and in between. There's nothing you can hit me with now that I've not seen before, and I'm ready for it all.
Wow, and I can see it now, for sure. I can see the fire in you. Like, I mean, I think it was a great decision, too, that you went to NXT. Do you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was what I wanted. I told my wife in the beginning, you know, when NXT really started catching fire, I was like, you know, it'd be ideal, like, when I go back, if I went there first, if I do my thing here and I get a reputation on the independent scene that I believe I can get, and then go to NXT because it's such a passionate fan base, and I think that would be the place for me to go to really show what I can do, and then when the time is right, because the transition is so much smoother from NXT to Raw and SmackDown, because it moves so fast. Like Raw and SmackDown is so many hours of unique TV every single week, like all year round. Like that was the way I saw it, and that's what I told her in the beginning. Like I told Chris Jericho, he was the first podcast I did. Another one who really helped me in the beginning, really get my message out there, was Chris.
Yeah.
And I told him, you know, I will be back. And as time went on and things were going so well, it got to the point where I said, maybe I won't be back. You know, things are going so well. I'm really lucky. Like financially, I'm doing phenomenal, which I was very, very, very lucky to do. But just as important, if not more important, I was feeling so fulfilled and really felt like I was making a difference. I was in the mindset of, you know, WWE's the name, the brand. It's going to keep trucking no matter what. The wheel keeps turning. But I was really making a difference.
Yeah.
And then when I came back with NXT, I really feel like I can make a difference in NXT. And then, like I say, when I was in NXT and I was kind of watching Raw, I was around backstage at Raw SmackDown, I saw kind of the guys backstage that reminded me of me. I was like, all right, actually, I believe I can make a difference. And Raw SmackDown, the biggest show of all, so it was all like a process, like all the way along. And then I was like, now I'm back now with that mentality of, all right, I believe I can make a difference here. And it was all...
So do you feel you are? I know it's been a short time. A little
hopefully.
bit?
But yeah, I mean... I hope so. I mean, the things I'm saying, hopefully people are reading them, and if I keep telling them in interviews, if you read what I'm saying, or if you listen to what I'm saying, you think I'm talking about you, I am. Because if I'm talking positively, and you can look yourself in the mirror, and I say about the hard workers and the ones that are the best in the world, and you know, looking in the mirror, that's me.
Who you are, yeah.
And if you don't think, if you look in the mirror, you can honestly say, like, I give it my all, I give it 110% in every aspect of my game. Like, you know the answer. Like, you know I'm talking to you, if positively or negatively.
Right. So talk to me about working with Dolph. How's that been?
Oh, great. Yeah, it's a big surprise. I just found out on the day. And I've known Dolph pretty much the entire time I've been here, like in FCW. We're there
and it's
together.
Crazy because, you know, Dolph was here for a long time, and Spirit Squad, all that kind of stuff, which was kind of like a 3MB, right?
Yeah, I didn't even know that he basically was trained here. They were talking recently, and I had no idea that I thought he'd done something before. But he learned on the job. And I remember like what it was like when I first came in, and he was there a couple of years before. And I can't imagine being around some of those guys.
He went through that as well.
As a newbie,
The newbie, the not finding, you know, all of a sudden Spirit Squad's doing so well, and then all of a sudden it's disbanded, and then what's next for him? And he went, I think he's tried to do some caddy thing with Chavo, and, you know, trying to find his grounding, and then all of a sudden it clicked.
Yeah.
It clicked.
That was awesome. Like in SmackDown, I remember there was a few of us, like younger guys who were getting some opportunities. So I think they realized that, you know, the old guard were on their way out, and they had to start making some younger stars. And that's like myself and Sheamus started getting some big opportunities. And on the SmackDown side, we had like myself, Dolph, Morrison. I don't miss people out here, but if you look back at 09, you'll see the people. Like that was like the roster of the young guys that were really trying to get going. I remember we always used to do promo class with Vince during that period.
Did you?
I reminded him that recently, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So we're in one of the did production meeting rooms, and I mentioned, you know, we used to do promo class in here. And it was like pretty cool. There was about 5 or 6 of us that got the opportunity to be in the room with the boss himself, and to give him, you know, his perspective on, you know, the business. And
I can't imagine what that was like.
So it was fantastic. Like, and it's just annoying at the time because a lot of what he said went over my head, but I noted it down and I banked it in my mind, and eventually things started clicking. It's like a lot of advice I got as well at the time when I was younger, and Taker would say stuff to me. And I know Dean Malenko's the agent for Today. I remember he used to give me some advice as well, and like everybody, and it would just make no sense to me whatsoever. And just one day it all started clicking, and they would tell me, so one day the light switch will go off. It's pretty cool.
Is that what they said?
Yeah. Because I would just pull my hair out sometimes, just try to figure out what these riddles meant. So that's pretty much how it was told to me. It was as riddles, and it took so long to figure them out.
Oh, wow. That is impressive. Can you share one of the riddles that all of a sudden you could
Oh,
get?
yeah. I mean, this is one that, like the one from Taker himself, I know I've mentioned it before, and like I use it myself. I just try and elaborate more because I'd be pulling my hair out trying to figure out when he would tell me to stop playing a wrestler, be a wrestler. That was like one of the biggest ones of all. And I was like, I don't understand. I'm out there wrestling. What do you mean play, beat? And then eventually the light switch went off. I was like, I'm out there like so concerned about my next moves and so robotic, and it's in my eyes. It's obvious I'm thinking about the next moves and whatever, and I'm telegraphing everything, and I'm just not like being. I'm just out there, basically going through the choreograph thing in my head. It looks that way, and not only that, if you get a camera shot of my face, you'll see my eyes darting around trying to think of what's going on. Instead of just relaxing, being myself, like being the character, being in the match, being in the moment, and letting the people along for the ride.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah, it's saying such riddles. I just started pulling my hair out. It's like remember Zoolander, the files are inside the computer, and he picks it up and throws it. That was like me sitting there trying to figure it out.
Oh my gosh. Have you been sharing some of those riddles with other people though? Now you see them going, what?
Yeah. I mean, like anywhere I can, I'll give some advice. And but yeah, I just remember there's so many different examples. Like back then, I just could never figure out until the light switch went off eventually.
Yeah. Well, I gotta say, I'm so excited for this journey for you. I can see the difference because I've seen both sides, and I can definitely see the difference. It's awesome to see what you're doing now. I know that you're going to go to the top.
I know
you are. I know you are. And it's just like AJ Styles when he was my guest. He talked about how he doesn't like it when the crowd chants, "You deserve it." He uses the same thing when he says, "No, I've earned it."
Yeah.
So I love the fact that you
That's
use
true.
that
He's
today.
earned it. More than anybody.
Yeah, he's earned it a lot too, and I've seen you earn it. I've seen Jinder earn it. It's just amazing to see all you guys like taking off now. Makes me proud.
Oh, thank you. It's wild, but it's so much fun, and yeah, just many more years left. I'm excited for the journey. I see what everyone's saying out there. Like, I've got my social media, and I see you all in your very positive comments. I appreciate them all. But let's remember, there's 52 weeks of TV a year. Let's tell a story.
Tell a story, right?
One step at a time.
Step at a time.
I enjoy the ride. We don't want to jump to the finish, but I appreciate everyone out there because my fan base has always been rabid and always supported me since day one. And when I was away from the company, they started telling a friend, "Hey, check them out," and they've really stuck with me the whole time and helped grow my reputation.
I love that you've also used social media smartly and not put things out there that could get you in trouble and just spit out things that sometimes they just spit things out without thinking. Because social media can be very detrimental too.
Yeah, especially in this day and age. Like when we first, got it, or I was first gone from the company, it was big, but it wasn't as big as it is now. And I learned from like watching like Matt, etc. I was all I'm going to put out is my business stuff, the occasional personal message. But yeah, that's another thing, advice for people out there, especially newer people who get frustrated. Don't tweet about it.
Don't.
Yeah, it's petty. Like the fans even see it that way as well. Like they might respond the way you want them to respond so you can retweet it or like it, but that's what they're trying to do. Just be smart.
Yeah.
Like work hard, and people will see that.
Right. Well, I am so excited for your continued Chasing Glory journey. And is Chasing Glory all you thought it would be? Or is it turning out to be so many different things?
Oh, no, it's the opposite of what I thought it was going to be. Like, I think because I got everything kind of given to me so young, it would just be that easy for the whole time. So it's not. But to be honest, glad. The journeys went the way it's went, and I've had a lot of obstacles that I've had to overcome because everything has made me the man I am today. And I always look to that Rocky speech, whenever, I'm down. So, it's not about the, how hard you hit, it's how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward because, like sometimes it can get hit real hard and sometimes you can be on the ground almost for the 10 count, but it's all about picking yourself back up and just continuing to push forward. And I'm glad for all of those downs because they've got me in the position I am now. And thanks to the wife and the personal life getting me where I need to be, and the opportunity of being away from WWE to get to where I am professionally. I'm just thankful for it all.
The gratitude shows, and that's what is all about, is gratitude.
Absolutely.
Congratulations and just continued success to you. How do we find you on social media, speaking of?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't even know. I'm at...
Do you know?
Yes, I've got it. I'm at D McIntyre, WWE. D McIntyre, not WWE. Because I always mess it up and write Drew McIntyre, WWE, and it comes up as some random guy.
Oh, got it.
It's pretending
so
to be
that's
me.
on both Instagram and Twitter?
Yes, both are the same.
D McIntyre, WWE.
Yes. It's the one with the tick, if I'm wrong.
Oh, yeah, with the check. The check mark.
Yeah, just
right.
not the weird dude pretending to be me.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
This is Chasing Glory with Lilian Garcia.
And there you have it, Drew McIntyre's journey of chasing glory. I could talk to him all day long, every day. That's right. In fact, every time I see him, I learn something new about him. But one thing that is constantly consistent is how nice Drew McIntyre is. I know he's playing a heel right now on the show, and he's playing a really, really good heel. But this guy is authentically good to the core, and I'm sure you guys heard it, and you could tell from the interview and how humble he is and how hungry he is. I love that because he's not just saying that he wants it. He is fighting for it every day. He has changed his body. He's wrestling amazing. And he's being a leader. Like he said, he came back wanting to be a leader, which is a tough place to sometimes be because sometimes people don't like leaders, and sometimes they kind of act like, well, what do you know and who do you think you are? But we need leaders in this world. We need more leaders than we do followers. So unless you're following somebody good and then you're turning around and being a leader, how about that? It's okay to follow for a while too. If you're being mentored by somebody, that's a way that you're following. So continue, guys, to listen to more episodes of Chasing Glory. If you haven't caught up with every single episode, if you're new to Chasing Glory, welcome. There's a lot of great interviews on here because my guests are pouring their hearts out, and I can't thank them enough. Man, when you go back and listen to the way that some people have grown up, or the obstacles that they've endured in school, or just one thing after another, and how they've been able to overcome it, it helps everyone. It helps all of us know that we can do this as long as we stay together. You, my CG squad out there, so happy to have you on this ride with me because this is part of my own Chasing Glory. So thank you for following us on Apple Podcasts. Make sure you leave your review. Don't forget that I'm going to do another pick next week from your review as to getting a free t-shirt and an 8x10. Also, you can follow us on YouTube. By the way, if you prefer to listen to the podcast on YouTube, that's fine. Go to youtube.com/Lilian Garcia. Make sure that you spell Lilian with one L in the middle. And you can find us on Spreaker, on Spotify, iHeartRadio just added us. My gosh, it goes on, SoundCloud and Stitcher, and there's so many places, Overcast, Google Podcasts. So there's a lot of great places that you can find it. There's no excuse for you not to be listening to another episode. So for now, guys, have an amazing, amazing week, and I'll see you next Monday. Thank you, and spread the word. Help to spread the word. So go out there with much peace, love, and passion. And remember to always be yourself and trust that it's enough. Bye, guys.
Thanks for joining us here on Chasing Glory from executive producer Lilian Garcia. Don't forget to share this episode with your friends and be sure to subscribe at Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your favorite shows.